Hello, welcome to this video on creating a simple procedurally generated cloud using shaders in Blender. If you're new to this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's dive into it. First of all, let's review the component and its features. The component is a procedurally generated material created using Blender's shader editor. The material uses noise textures to create patterns for the clouds that can be altered at will. Additionally, one can change the color as well as the emission intensity of the clouds to their preference. Now that we have an idea of how the material works, let's recreate it from scratch. For this tutorial, I will project the material on a planar surface by creating a plane primitive mesh. Start by creating a new material and giving it an appropriate name. In the Materials Properties section, set the blend mode to Alpha Blend. This gives the material translucency. Add a noise texture node. This is what's going to give your clouds a pattern and is the foundation of this shader. Also, I'm going to speed up the process and just set the values of each of the node's parameters to what suited the cloud's aesthetic when I first created it. Make sure you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled in your preferences. It makes the workflow a lot smoother. With that enabled, select the noise texture node once again and press Ctrl with T to create a mapping and texture coordinate node. This gives you more control in mapping the noise texture onto the target mesh. Once that's done, add a color ramp node to the arrangement. Adjust the knobs to what's shown and connect the color output to the base color input of the principal BSDF node. Add a hue saturation value node between the color ramp node and the principal BSDF node in order to give agency over the hue, saturation, and value of the clouds. Next, we need to add a mask over the existing noise texture to confine it within a specific boundary and avoid being clipped off at the edges of the mesh. Start by duplicating the existing noise texture and adjust its parameters to match the respective values. Connect a gradient texture node. Make sure its type is set to spherical. As before, with the noise texture node selected, hold down the Control key with T and create a mapping node with a texture coordinate node. Then adjust the location and scale parameters to match what's shown on screen. Similarly, connect the mapping node to the vector input of the gradient texture node. Add a mix RGB node and connect the color output of both the noise texture and gradient texture node to the color 1 and color 2 inputs. Set the blend mode to multiply and factor value to 1. Add another color ramp node. Set the interpolation mode to B-spline and make sure that the position of the knobs are as shown. Add another mix RGB node and connect the color output of the first color ramp node and that of the second to the color 1 and color 2 inputs. Set the blend mode to multiply and set the factor value to 1. Connect the mix RGB node's color output to the alpha input of the principal BSDF node. Duplicate the Mix RGB node and once again connect the color output of both color ramp nodes into the inputs. Create a math node and connect the Mix RGB node to it. Once that's done, connect the math node output to the emission strength input of the principal BSDF node. This setup allows you to manipulate the emission intensity of the material. And that wraps up this quick tutorial on creating a procedurally generated cloud texture in Blender. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.